Now before you write an angry comment down in the comment section, let me give you 5 good reasons of why I'm a better player than you.
I'm better!
And what you can do to also get there, if you want to do that, obviously, because this is a video game, achievements mean absolutely nothing. Well, in fact, nothing means anything and we're all going to die, but that's a whole different topic for a different time. But basically, it's a game. If you want to be good at the game, this is what you're going to have to do. Here are the 5 most important things that I can do that you might not be able to do. Now, the first thing is, I have a lot of time. Experience, that is. Obviously, you wouldn't expect this guy to beat this guy. The longer you play, the more you pick up. That is obviously the most important thing. So also manage your expectations. If you've gotten to the game playing for a month, you're never going to beat someone that has been playing for 7, 8, 9, 10 years that have paid attention along the way. Because that swiftly also brings me to the second point, and probably the most important one, and that is awareness. Be aware of absolutely everything that goes on in the battle. Where are the tanks? What are the tanks doing? Where can the tanks be? What map are you on? How do people think? For example, I will think that if we have a mouse, let's take that as an example. The mouse is very slow, so the mouse's radius of movement is very limited. Or we have a Sheridan. The Sheridan can move around quite a lot, so I will treat the Sheridan a lot different than I will treat the mouse, because obviously the Sheridan can come after me and the mouse can't. So you can very easily figure out what tank can do what, and the more aware you are, the more you understand the processes that go on within the game, the better and the easier it will be to find yourself an opportunity to do some damage. And also, very importantly, to avoid getting damaged, because a lot of people simply just think about how do I get the next shot, how do I do damage, rather than think about how do I get the next shot after that. Like, you have to think 2-3 shots ahead already. What can you do? Can you stay in this position without dying for the next 30 seconds, for the next minute? The more aware you are of the flow of the battle, the more damage you will do, the better you're going to play, the more you understand the flow of the battle. And that obviously takes a lot of experience to get there, to watch a lot of battles, to see a lot of games happen, and to really pay attention. How's that player playing? How's that player playing? And to find really the weaknesses of every single player, to be aware of what your teammates are doing, to be aware of what enemies are doing, and to exploit all the mistakes that they're making, that ideally you've already seen before, or if you're experienced, already made before. That's another important thing. If you make mistakes and then you'd be like, that was wrong, I shouldn't do that again. Why should I not do that again? All those kind of things. If you start thinking about those kind of things, you're gonna improve naturally. If you think about the things that you're doing wrong, what can you improve? It's gonna start to work naturally. And then eventually you're going to start seeing not just your own mistakes, but you're also going to start seeing everyone else's mistakes. What is your team doing wrong? What is the enemy team doing wrong? And that is once you've reached peak awareness, when you know what that enemy is going to screw up in a minute's time, you've reached the peak of gameplay awareness. But it's not really necessary. I mean, it's still a game, so you don't need to go that in depth. As long as you know what you yourself are doing wrong, what you can improve, as long as you're aware of your own moves, that's perfectly fine. You're going to be way above average already, simply by just being aware of your own moves and your own gameplay. Now, another thing that you can't really get with time, but instead with money, is your tank loadouts. Obviously, I've invested a lot of money into World of Tanks Blitz, so comparing me to someone that's free to play with a 75% crew and 2 equipment slots is not fair at all. I will have a default advantage, and everyone else that spends a lot of money on the game as well will have a default advantage over someone that is free to play. And Blitz is a free-to-play game, which means that the majority of people aren't going to invest a lot of money. So I have a basic advantage already simply by just spending money, which is, yes, very unfair, but that's how the world works. The more money you have, the more power, and the more money on top of that you will get. Now, obviously, in Blitz, you're not going to get extra money, but you are going to get extra damage if you use it well, because I, for example, with my fully equipped Leopard, can do much more, can do much better than someone with a 75% crew Leopard that's only firing AP because they can't afford heat shells. That is obviously a very terrible advantage to have, but that is an important advantage that you need if you really want to get all the way up ahead. You cannot, unfortunately, get around paying yourself to some goodies. For example, 100% crew. You can get that naturally, but it is going to take a lot longer, and it will negatively impact the stats when you're sitting around there playing with a 75% tank. But that's really the least one that I recommend doing. If you're having fun, free to play, don't bother spending money. It is absolutely not necessary whatsoever. However, what is necessary is number 4, and that is know yourself. Be aware of what kind of player you want to be as well. It's not just awareness, but it's more like, are you getting angry at the game? Do you get mad when you play when you lose a battle or something like that? Do you get angry? Because then you should stop. That's never gonna get anywhere. You're not gonna have a great time. You're going to play worse if you're angry, which will then result in more anger and you playing even worse. Now, ideally, a little bit of psychology, especially human psychology, can be also very helpful for a strategy game like this one. Doesn't mean you have to study psychology in college to suddenly play a video game, but it does mean that sort of understanding a couple of human things that go on in the background are very useful. For example, it takes 10 seconds to be unspotted in the game. So what you can do is you can drive 10 seconds straight in one direction. After those 10 seconds, you turn around and drive the other way. Pretty much 80 to 90% of players will not even check, not even think that you're coming from the other side, unless you obviously take too long. But those kind of things, those kind of little tricks, they're incredibly useful, and I highly recommend learning them. That's just one of them. Should I make a video about those tiny pointless tricks of World of Tanks Blitz that are still very useful? Should I do that? Put it down in the comments if you are interested. And then, number 5, and that is probably the one that you're going to hate me for. And that is that you have to be utterly ruthless, right? Your team aren't people, they're a resource. Your teammates, they're just simply a walking deposit of hit points that you can use to further improve your performance, right? Because why would I spend my own hit points when I can simply, with my awareness, look at this player, he's a camo-less whatever player, and I can see, he's not that good. So I use their hit points to my advantage. That player dies, gets shot, whatever. I'm still full HP by the end of the battle, having done a lot of damage, just like here. Everyone else around me is dead. I've done a lot of damage. I'm doing a reload, and I'm still full HP as well. So basically, you have to be ruthless and treat your team as a disposable pool of hit points that you can yourself benefit from. That's not great. You're not going to enjoy that if you're not an extremely good player. As I said, you're going to hate me for it because you are the mass that will be used and abused for this. But that is unfortunately how this works. Once you're aware of everything, once you got the best tank loadout, once you're not mad, the thing is that you still need to understand is this is a team game. So you can either play with your team or off your team if your team's incompetent, which is always the case, unfortunately.